Hello, this is Dr. Zeev Neuwirth. I'm the producer and host of the award-winning podcast, Creating a New Healthcare, a podcast for those who are deeply interested in the humanistic transformation of American healthcare. We recently ended the spring 2025 season with our 200th episode and the completion of the eighth year of this podcast. And then, folks, I received an email from our guest today, David Chase, whom I consider to be one of the most impactful, forward-thinking, and courageous transformers of American healthcare. And I sincerely mean that. What he and his colleagues at Health Rosetta are doing is so outrageously groundbreaking. And when I heard of some of the more recent things they're doing, I felt compelled to share it. And so here we are, a short post-season video cast. By way of very, very brief introduction, Dave, and I hope I'm not going to embarrass you here, but Dave is the founder of Health Rosetta, which we'll hear more about. More recently, he and his colleagues have launched something called the Nautilus Health Institute. Super interesting. Dave's an author two or three times over. I have to say, and we were just talking about this before we got on, his books, particularly the one that really was a wake-up call for me, is The CEO's Guide to Restoring the American Dream. I have to tell you, if you haven't read his books, you don't understand what's happening in employer-based healthcare. So eye-opening. I was not surprised to learn that he won the World Healthcare Congress's Lifetime Achievement Award for Health Benefits Innovation. And a long time ago, he led Microsoft's $30 billion healthcare ecosystem, one of the forerunners and starters of that for Microsoft. Dave, can't tell you what a privilege and a pleasure to have you on here, and want to pick your brain. I want to share in a very brief video cast what you are doing at Health Rosetta and Nautilus Health. So thank you for joining us.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I've listened to your show for, I think, from the inception and always enjoy it. So, real honor to be on. And thanks for the kind introduction. And you steer us where we want to go in terms of, we were talking offline just about how few of us actually know much about employer healthcare. I certainly didn't until the last decade. And yet it's the most common way people get healthcare in America. I think it's 175 million Americans get it through their jobs. So, it's kind of a weird blind spot that most of us have had.
For me, Health Rosetta, which you've done, is almost the epicenter of this movement. I don't know what else to call it. At least everyone I've talked to sort of is connected around Health Rosetta. Is that what Health Rosetta is doing? Is sort of helping brokers and advisors really be able to cut out all the shenanigans that have been going on and really be being fiduciary responsible, actually helping their employee clients?
Yeah, very much so. We're all about training and tooling them. And, they're overwhelmingly are good people. I mean, some of these people were like college buddies, but they got into something that was just way off base. And frankly, a lot of the people in our movement, they were gonna, it's almost like burned out docs, where they're like, there's moral injury here. Like, this is not right. I'm a good person. Like, I'm making bank by delivering, great news, guys, pay more, get less every year. That's been the story for decades now. And they're like, oh, there is actually another way. And we're not asking them to take a vow of poverty. Just like, here's how to do it. Here's how the best have done it. There's a guy named Scott Haas, a good example, one of the people that was a kind of OG in this. He has a client, Pacific Steel and Recycling. This is a 130-year-old company in Great Falls, Montana, about 700 employees. They were spending $8 million a decade ago, projected to be spending 12 million by today. The last 5 years, they spent about 3.5 to 4 million.
Wow.
And so you have forklift drivers who are retiring with seven-figure nest eggs because that happens to be an employee owned company. And basically their nest egg is doubled because they did the right thing. And so people like Scott, they're doing great business and they're like, I want everybody to do this.
Mm.
And that's just partly so Health Rosetta is a public benefit corporation. It's a for-profit company with a social mission. Like that's a new type of legal entity. But our plan was always if we can prove this out, if we just put our heads down 5, 7, 8 years, not make a lot of noise, and we do it thousands of times around the country, urban, rural, small companies, large companies, union, non-union, public, private, it would be pretty hard for people to say you got lucky. And we would learn a lot. And so we have about 400 employers that we're working directly with,
Hmm.
and then there's about 10,000 employers in what we call the Health Rosetta ecosystem. We've now proven it out and said, I mean, this is kind of dramatic, but it's really true. If you look at a great health plan in
Mhm.
terms of the difference in outcomes, because they've got great primary care, they have centers of excellence that for second opinions on complex stuff, there's no cost barriers for medications that work. Literally, if you could put it in a pill, would be the blockbuster drug of the century, like cancer cure type of impact.
So,
So we have to give that away. It was
so
our
David,
field.
you've been working with thousands of employers, and what concretely, how much have, on average, I don't know if you have this number at hand, how much have you saved them in terms of reducing their healthcare costs?
Yeah, I mean, generally we talk about the worst result of the ones we directly, if you want to call it worst, is a 20% absolute reduction in spending. Like there's that much fat.
What's the
We
best?
we have organizations that like one of the originators of this that really we took our organization's purpose from them is an organization called Rose and Hotels.
Mm.
They have saved $540 million over 30 years by giving their employees the best health plan in America, the best benefits plan. Like they save so much money, they pay for their employees' college education and their employees' kids' college education. Like it sounds like some, you know, Hallmark movie. Like it's real. You can go
Mm.
see it with your own eyes. And it didn't even stop there. They adopted a crime-ridden neighborhood and invested in kids in education. Hundreds of
Mm.
kids have gotten college educations fully paid. They funded daycare, pre-K, after-school programs, parental education, all
And
out of just a fraction of the savings.
and this is all from the money they saved from their
Yeah.
healthcare benefits. That's amazing. At Health Rosetta, you've spent years creating tools to address these contracts, these misaligned, malaligned contracts, employer contracts, tools that help brokers, advisors, employers look at their claims data to analyze it to see where they're spending, where they could save money, where they could improve outcomes, and tools to just evaluate how they're doing overall. So you've packaged these tools, and I'm sure I'm missing some of them. And that's what's in this new institute called Nautilus Health. Why did you have to create a separate institute? I'm just, and who's going to, how could someone, who would be accessing those tools? How could
Yeah.
they access them? Do they have to pay for them?
Yeah. If you zoom out, what we're trying to do is, it's kind of an obvious point. Like we didn't get these guys, if you're on audio, I'm waving around an iPhone by tweaking landlines or rotary phones, right? You have to develop a new industry supply chain. In order to do something that big, you have to develop industry standards and norms. And there's plenty of places that this has happened in tech, it's happened in financial services. The cost of transaction for interest rate swaps has gone down 97.5%. So even though, yes, we're the most enthusiastic early adopter of this as Health Rosetta, it has to be way bigger than Health Rosetta. For it to become an industry standard. And so that's why we needed to set up a separate entity, separate board. I mean, some real rock stars, Leah Binder, CEO of Leapfrog, Marilyn Bartlett, one of Fortune's World 50 Great Leaders, done an incredible thing in Montana for their state employee health plan. And so we needed to have something separate. It is more and more common in some of these really wicked problems to have these kind of dual entity structures like a for-profit and a nonprofit. And so originally we had called it Health Rosetta instead. We're like, no, no, it's got to be really separate from Health Rosetta.
Mhm.
Well, I'm on the board. I'm the board chair, so like I really care about it. But it does need to be bigger than us. And then yeah, you can just go to nautilushealth.org, and we slapped up the site in like a day last fall before RosettaFest, which is our annual gathering for the first set of tools that was released. Like we need to put this out there so it takes it somewhat out of the abstract. And it's not super consumer friendly, but it's employers, it's brokers, it's basically anybody in the ecosystem who wants to understand what's going on.
Hmm.
It gets pretty wonky pretty quick, right? You talk about, I mean, it's basically this virtuous cycle that a lot of the way healthcare has worked is like the industry says, here's our stuff, take it or leave it. Well, that's not the way any public or private entity goes about procuring things. They define what it is they want and then go out to the market, who wants to serve us. So it starts with you got to define the procurement. And then you got to codify it in the contracts, and then you got to prove it in the data and rinse and repeat. It's this, quality improvement virtuous cycle that happens.
Hmm.
And if you go, there today, it's pretty basic. Like you fill out a little form, you get an email, it clicks off to right now, it's literally a Google Doc. And you'll see links to other docs, and you like the one that's most built out is for the third party administrator, like who's processing the medical claims. That's the most important contract there is. And any normal person would go in there and look at it and go, oh, whoa, like this is like 64 pages of like how to do this. And then there's like 10 other documents that are model contract language and checklists and RFPs. And the only thing you'll walk away from as a normal person is, wow, you're sweating a lot of details. And that's what it takes. None of the individual items are rocket science, just like, a complex surgery. It's made up of a lot of small steps. You got to do it right. You got to have the checklist, all that. And we're just doing the same thing on the business side and saying, follow these checklists. This is what the world-class health plans have done. And now we're making it available for free. And we thought, if we do this, we poured in about $4 million of our what we'd invested in. We are able to amortize that across the 400 employers we work directly with. But $1,100 an hour ERISA attorneys and $600 an hour ERISA attorneys and subject matter experts on contracting. It's about $4 million of all that plus tech. We built out a data platform because you made the point earlier. The claims data is super critical.
Hmm.
And that sounds like a simple thing, but actually, even if you have a fully cooperative partner there, to get the claims in, clean it up, add value to it, be able to make it available to different systems, to do that well, you're probably into it for close to $3 million. Like, say you're a diabetes solution for something that's not differentiating. So we're like, that's dumb. They're having to build that into the practice. Let's open source that. And so these are the things that allow that if you zoom out, what is Health Rosetta trying to do? We're trying to enable repeatability. What Rosen did was amazing, but it was a lot more work than most people are willing to do. We need to lower that bar. So how do we make this highly repeatable and then verifiable? Like, okay, can we verify? Yeah, you had these great contracts. That's awesome. That's a good starting point. Whether honest mistake or malfeasance doesn't mean they are adhered to. So you got to get the data. And that we came up with this plan grader. It's the 40 most important questions to ask about a plan that's predictive of whether it's going to be high performance. The
Wow.
single most predictive question is, do you have complete unfettered access to your claims data and know what to do with it? And that's what we give people the ability to do, teach them how to do. None of it's rocket science, but you just got to do it and be diligent.
I have so many more questions. Every time I speak to you, I just love what you're doing, respect it, I admire it. I'd love to see it just grow, 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 and spread, like you're saying. I feel good about the fact that I have more questions because I'm going to be seeing you at the Rosetta Fest conference,
Yeah.
and which is coming up next month in
Yeah.
August. So, if in the last minute, if you could just share with folks, 'cause I think it's a really phenomenal conference. I've been once, and it just blew me away. The level of expertise, and it's not just brokers and advisors and employers, HR people, but I was surprised and shocked at how many clinical leadership and
Yeah.
hospital executives and practice executives are there. So, who's coming and what will we learn there?
Yeah, no, it's pretty equally split between clinical leaders. That we're going to probably have 1,000, 1,200 people. It's what we had last year. Pretty evenly split between clinical leaders, employers slash unions, benefit pros, like benefit consultants, advisors, and kind of the final fourth bucket is solution slash tech companies. And the thing that's really been very gratifying in our movement, we thought this might happen and we tried to facilitate it is like if we lead by example, kind of giving away our expertise, what you find is the best people that have done this and succeeded in some cases for decades, they are good people. They're super busy. They got more than enough work. They want it expanded. And so they're like, oh, wait a second. You're telling me if I pour my intellectual property into this thing, You will make sense out of it. You'll make it freely available. And when people come knocking on my door, I can just go, hey, go over there. That's the people who are at Rosetta Fest, is these people who
Mm.
are making this available because they know the impact is incredible. It's fulfilling for them. And that's what it's all about. And it just creates that virtuous cycle. And then, you now have Mark Cuban, right? He's doing the
Mhm.
stuff with his cost plus drugs. That's
Yeah.
great, but he's an employer too. And he's kind of joined this open source contract thing. They're going to open source the direct contracts that they're doing with health systems.
Mm.
And the health systems are working with, like, you know what? With the transparency and coverage and
Mm.
pricing, we can actually gain a competitive advantage if we're putting this stuff out there. So it's a real change from this opacity where,
Mm.
it's almost like this Russian nested doll of contracts. Like there's layers and layers and layers to get at what's going on. And now there are some laws, we could get into that, but like just that's what we unpack. And you can go talk to the people who've done it. We have the best employee health plans in the country. They're all willing to
Mm.
share, and some are small, some are big. There's unions, non-unions. And it's a pretty unique dynamic because people are sharing. They're not just
Mm.
like, innovation theater on some stage about some little pilot
Right.
program.
Right.
This is the real deal. They're betting their business on it, and they've
Yeah.
they've done it and for a long time.
David, I am so genuinely super excited about what you've done over the past few years. A lot of hard work, you and your colleagues, and I've had the privilege of speaking to some of your colleagues. Chris Deacon comes to mind, just unbelievable.
Yeah.
The level of integrity and courage and a sense of social responsibility that you and your colleagues have, and again, what you've built and what you're sharing, again, impacting over 50% of Americans who get their health care through their employer. This is real. This is serious. And we're talking about salaries,
Yeah.
and the loss of salaries and loss of jobs because of the cost of healthcare and how that's impacted individuals and their families and communities. It's such a devastating issue. It's getting worse. And so what you're doing is trying to reverse that. And I appreciate it. I am so excited to be at Rosetta, or to be going to Rosetta Fest. And it's August 20.
Yeah, 24th is a fly-in day, and it's Monday to Wednesday. It's the 25th to 27th of August.
Yeah. David, again, can't thank you enough. So excited to see you in a few weeks. And thanks. And I hope I'm going to get this out there. I'm just so excited to share this with others.